Hey guys, what is going on? Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, alongside Jez Corden of Windows Central fame, bringing you guys a new episode of the Xbox 2 episode number 6. Man, Jez, 6 episodes in already?
Wow, we're like actually sticking to a schedule on like my own podcast. Uh,
How's your week been, buddy? I don't know. I've talked to you here and there this past week. But how you been doing?
Week's been hard, man. Hard work, lots of hard work, deadlines and graft and sleepless nights. But got a nice story up today, so that's something,
I
I
did.
guess.
And just tease, we'll be talking about Jez's story in just a little bit. There's a lot to talk about, and I think I might have to play devil's advocate on this one.
No, you won't.
So it's
I,
gonna be
I
it's gonna
won't.
be
I
it's
won't
gonna
let
be
you.
fun. You won't let me. It'll happen regardless. It will happen.
Uh,
So I figured, you know what? You have an addiction going on right now, dude. A pure gaming addiction that has taken over your life.
yeah, I mean,
Do you
this is
want
one
to?
of the reasons why I've been struggling with my deadline, so I hope my editor's not listening to this, but City Skylines has taken over my life. What?
It's not only taken over your life; it's taken over a few of my friends' lives as well, dude.
It's
You're not the
so
only one.
addictive. It's like, I'll just build a few more streets. I'll build one more settlement. I'll just make sure this commercial zone's doing okay. I'll wait 5 minutes to generate enough cash to build this hospital. It's like, oh my God, it's so addictive. And it's like crack in game form. Oh, Stuart D. Loop sent £2.
Well,
Thank you very
thank
much.
you. Yeah, we will try to have a great show. But Jez, tell me. All right, so here's the thing with City Skylines, right? I never played like SimCity or any of those games back in the day, right? So when I loaded up City Skylines, I always give games the benefit of the doubt, right?
Mm.
Anytime I play them, I wanted to like this game a lot, but like I couldn't. And I know some people in chat probably think I'm an idiot, but I was expecting there to be some sort of tutorial to help me figure out how to build things in that game, and it's literally just like you start off and it's like
Well,
it
this
doesn't
tooltip,
tell you anything.
I
How am I supposed to build this city without any instructions?
I figured it out without a guide, and there
I
are tooltips, and
I know there are tooltips, but
that's why. But yeah, I mean, the people in the chat saying never played SimCity. I guess I played SimCity, so I used to play SimCity a lot as a kid, so there was sort of like it is very similar to that sort of game. So I kind of had it, uh, the basics in my muscle memory almost. Yeah, you got to get the power plant going. You've got to make sure there's sewage and plumbing and stuff like that. It's so good. I'm gonna play it right now. Screw this podcast.
you are. I mean,
I'm gonna
even when we were
film
doing
this.
TXR Monday, Doc was playing it at the same time. Like I have friends just addicted to this game, and maybe I didn't give it the time it deserved because as soon as I got City Skylines, the next day I got Outlast 2. And I was like, well, I know what I'm playing because I'm a huge Outlast fan. So I wasn't able to give City Skylines the proper respect that I should have. But I
It's
mean,
not for everyone, But I think it's a testament to how because they announced City Skylines like 2 years ago, and they spent like almost 2 years in radio silence, and people were like, is this game still coming to Xbox One? And I sent a couple of emails to Paradox Interactive to say, like, is this game still coming? And they didn't reply. So I was like, oh God, it's not coming out. But then GDC, they were like, oh yeah, it is coming out. We've just spent the last 2 years reworking all the controls for a controller because it was designed for mouse and keyboard. And it's a testament to how hard they've worked that people have got so addicted to it, because it shows that games that are designed for mouse and keyboard can work really well in controller. And it's not perfect, there are some little annoying things, like placing transport links for buses is really, really annoying, and sometimes snapping to roads and stuff can be a bit tricky. But it's they've got it like 95% there. And the cool thing about Paradox Interactive is they always update their games and support them for years after launch. So you can expect City Skylines on PC has already had like 5 fairly large expansions. So I
Right, and
expect
all the expansions are in this version, right? Or
only one
most
of
of
them
really,
is.
only
Only
one of
one
them
of them
is
is.
okay.
Only one of them is. So there's an expansion that'll bring upgrades to the transit system, like new stuff for trains and cars and vehicles and stuff like that. And there'll be an expansion that brings weather effects. So like there'll be seasons like snow, and you'll have to deal with grit in the roads and stuff like that. You know, it's just more stuff to keep you hooked on the game and stuff. And yeah, it's just special, man. And Paradox Interactive have rapidly become one of my favorite devs because they also make Stellaris, which I've been talking about all the time as well. And
Well, Scratch asks, who's the best mayor between us? Well, that'd be you because I haven't even really built the city. I tried, like I said, I didn't give the game the time I should have because I got Outlast 2, and I'm a huge Outlast fan. But so a lot of people want to know about the controls, Jez. Do you think they did a really good job or an adequate job of taking a game that was primarily PC for what 2 years now? Um, and do you think they did a really good job like translating controls to the controller?
well, yeah, like I said, I mean,
Um,
it's a testament to how well they've done that people are so addicted to it. And it's not perfect, but they will update it and they'll improve it. You know, so the little things that don't work that well, like the transit system I mentioned, they'll update that. You know, I think they've probably been taken aback by how much it's exploded, and I know it's exploded because when I write an article about a game and it doesn't get many hits, I know that no one cares about it. But when I write an article and it gets loads of hits, then I know people care about it. And like my City Skylines coverage has done really, really well on Windows Central, so I know there's a lot of interest in this game. So yeah, it really bodes well. And I tell you why it bodes well as well, because they were able to make a game that was designed for mouse and keyboard works so well on Xbox One. It means other games that are designed for mouse and keyboard can come to Xbox One, you know. And
mhm.
Halo Wars 2 kind of proves that as well. That these strategy and management simulation games can work with a controller if developers just put the time in to make it work. So yeah, it's
This game is coming. This game is coming to PlayStation 4. I should make
yeah, it
mention of
is.
that. It was a console launch exclusive. I hate those terms. Like console launch exclusive. So yeah, it'll be out on the PlayStation 4 6 months, 4 months, 2 months,
Yeah,
whatever the
yeah.
deal's up for it, and hopefully it does well. Because as all my friends, I have like 3 or 4 friends who are like religiously playing this game now, and good games deserve to get good sales, is my belief. So
Paradox Interactive deserve the sales, you know, and then they're not a huge dev, you know. To come under idea Xbox, your company has to be below a certain revenue threshold. Like CD Project Red are technically independent, but they earn so much money they're not qualified to be on idea Xbox. So, but Paradox Interactive are, so they must be earning below a certain threshold of revenue per year or something. So, they deserve to get to that next level. The games like Europa Universalis and Stellaris and stuff like that. And the game City Skylines was developed by Colossal Games originally and ported to console by Tantalus Games, if I remember right. And so they all deserve to be successful. So I hope it does come to PlayStation 4 and it does just as well as it does on Xbox because it is just an amazing game.
Um, I mean, it's been out on PC for a while. Huge success. Although, to be fair, we should mention that the game does have some glitches, though. Um,
There are
it has
glitches, and
constant. I know my friends. When your city gets big enough, there's freezing. People have lost a lot of time, so it's not like.
mm,
I mean, from my friends that
I
I
haven't
listen
had the
to,
game. I
they
haven't had the game freeze personally. I've had it gets laggy, but it does handle it quite well. And it's only if you're like zooming in that it gets really, really laggy. I've got like my city's got 50,000 inhabitants and it's still totally playable. And but you know, each there's so much going on in that game, and if in a game like, for example, Astroneer, where you can place tethers and you know you can grow your little city in Astroneer. Astroneer gets really really laggy when you start adding more and more stuff to the map, and that's something to do with the way the engine handles extra data that you're loading into the system. And Astroneer has improved over time, like it's in early access, but the City Skylines handles the extra information a lot better than I thought it would. And obviously, uh, but yeah, it's like Master of Disaster says in the chat. It happens on PC as well. You need if you've got a massive city, it's gonna strain your system. So I mean, I've got a Razer Blade GTX 1060 with 16 gigabytes of RAM, and that struggles when I'm playing Stellaris and there's 100 ships on screen. It struggles, you know. So it's just the nature of the beast of this kind of game, and I think they've done a good job at optimizing it for Xbox One. They've done a very good job.
All right. I'm gonna try to give it another go eventually when there's not as much to play. Like I just finished Outlast 2, which I thought is an amazing game, a
I
lot
haven't
better than
touched
the
that yet.
first. You said you're too scared to play it.
Well, well, first of all, tell me what you think of Outlast 2, because we talked about Skylines.
I gave it a 9 in my review. I think it's the best game I played this year so far.
Really?
Yeah, but then again, I adored Outlast 1, and Outlast 2 is everything the first game is, but bigger. Like bigger, more varied locations, different types of enemies. Sure, you have the same core concept of run, hide, or die, right? And a lot of it is sneaking around or hiding and running from enemies, so there's a lot of that forced movement, but the religious aspect kind of drew me in, along with like the dual kind of storytelling they have going on. So I like started the game and I pretty much finished it. Um, yeah, I think it's way better than the first game, but that's
How
just
long?
me.
How long did it take you to play it? Ryan City Games asks.
I my first playthrough of Outlast 2, finding 90% of the collectibles because I was searching around, took me about 8 hours.
No, that's not too bad. That's pretty good.
So it's $30. It's $10 more than Outlast 2 was at launch. I think it's completely worth. I think it's completely worth
Now,
the purchase, but that's just me.
how does it compare to Resident Evil 7? Because Resident Evil 7 shifted to first person, which kind of puts it in the same sort of category. So, how do you think they compare? Is it a fair comparison?
Well, I don't know, because Resident Evil, I mean, you still have like the guns and stuff. So, like in Outlast 2, you don't have any weapons. Whereas in Resident Evil, you do have shotguns and pistols and things. And yeah, they throw more enemies at you in Resident Evil because part of the gameplay loop is to kill those enemies. But I felt Resident Evil was stronger in the beginning than Outlast 2 start. But Outlast 2 continuously got better as it went, whereas like Resident Evil 7 was at like a 9.5 for me almost all the way until the last third, and then it like dropped off a cliff because the last third was just so bad. And I eventually like landed on an 8.5 for the score, 8.5, because I like really liked that game a lot. But Outlast 2 was kind of just like a steady incline. It just kept on getting better and better and better, for me at least.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I played Outlast 1, right? But I actually got bored because there was nothing to kill.
Yeah, a lot of people have that problem with Outlast, where they're like, why can't I pick up a stick, or why can't I pick up something or a knife and kill people? You're not the only person who said that to me. I have a few friends that are like back, but it goes against the core concept of the game.
I mean,
You know?
I appreciate the game, like its art and what it's trying to do, but I don't like walking simulators. I feel like they're almost patronizing me. I don't know. And I remember because I was playing Outlast 1, and I streamed it back in the day. It was like one of the first games I ever streamed. And I got to this part where there's this monster dude, and you get thrown down, and you land on this pile of corpses. And I was just like, man, and I put the game down to finish playing for the day, and I just didn't want to come back to it because I realized that I wasn't really enjoying it, kind
Mm.
of.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're not enjoying a game, you're not enjoying a game.
But
Um,
it makes me feel like I'm shallow because I want to shoot or kill everything with a
well, I mean,
chainsaw
why do you
or
like Gears of War 4 so much, or Gears?
because you can chainsaw things.
Yeah, you can chainsaw stuff. You can't chainsaw stuff in Outlast 2. You get chainsawed.
My God,
You don't do no chainsawing.
if Gears was a walking simulator, I think it'd be the most boring game ever made.
You know, Gears. You could kind of even say Gears started the walking simulator because, like, I know this is kind of a little far fetched, but Gears does just have those sections where
Where
you
it forces
literally
you to
just
walk.
where it forces you to walk and you walk super slow and you can't skip it. I hate those sections in those type of games.
Are those like Are those like pseudo loading screens? Because there's a lot
They
of
might
games
be.
now where the games like force you into an enclosed space and you have to sort of walk slowly through a gap in a wall. Like Tomb Raider has them, Resident Evil 7 has them. Like a bunch of games have them. It's like where you have to walk through like a gap in a wall, and it's like an interactive loading screen. It's kind of, but all games do it now. It's just kind of obvious. Like they're trying to hide the loading screen, but now every game does it. It doesn't work anymore. I don't know.
Mm.
Um,
Um.
went off on a
So yeah,
tangent
do you
there.
want to?
So
So we got some game talk in Outlast 2, City Skylines. I love Outlast 2. Jez
um,
loves City Skylines.
yeah, it's funny.
Um.
Like there's no chainsaw in City Skylines, but I love that game.
Right.
It's just
And you
weird.
were making me jealous when you were posting your pictures of of like your big ass city on Twitter and stuff. But
I tell you what,
Outlast,
though, there was one thing they cities that did annoy me. I was like, why is there no car accidents in this game? Why is there no train crashes in this game? Like I made I made like rails that cross over each other, and then two trains were gonna smash into each other. And I was like, oh god, they're gonna crash, but they just sort of clipped through each other. I was so disappointed. There needs to
Mhm.
be an expansion that lets cars crash because I feel like if you've got bad city planning, you should be punished for the car accidents that you cause. Because my town is filled with roads that have car accidents because of how poorly they've been set up. So,
So City
yeah,
Skylines is out now for $40. I know that's a
great
lot.
purchase.
That's expensive for a lot of people.
I've already put
Um,
about 25 hours into it, something like
25
that.
hours, my
And it's
lord.
been out for like, I got the key on, when did I get it? Like Saturday?
Yeah.
For
So it's
25 hours.
expensive. I think it's doing pretty well too, but it's $40. Outlast 2 is $30. Um, and
Buy
some
them
of these
both.
games are getting expensive. Some of these
Yeah. Indie
lower
game.
tier, the non AAA stuff, they're getting quite expensive. But
Yeah,
anyways, you had a major article that you posted today on Windows Central,
it is.
where you had quote unquote another leak, right? You
Yep.
talked about the score. Like, so what exactly is this? Because I read your article, but you obviously can explain it way better than I can. So let's talk about this.
Right. So, I wrote this article at 4 in the morning this morning, and I was very tired, and I didn't really put across what it was very well in the first write up. I don't think, because basically my editor titled it of "This is how games will look on Scorpio," but that's not strictly true. What the screenshots are supposed to show is it's supposed to show developers. Microsoft showed this to developers at a closed event. And say Rich of Cucumber at USA is already like saying it looked blurry and stuff. But I'll explain why it looks blurry. But this it was a closed event, and the whole point of the event was to show developers how easy it is for them to take an existing Xbox One title and bring it to Scorpio. And that was the whole point. So the pictures of the woman, um, that was an Xbox One game that had just been moved straight over to Scorpio and turned to 4K. There was no extra textures, there was no modeling work done, there was no extra geometry. It was just a straight port, which is what Eurogamer saw when Forza was ported to Scorpio. They ported the Xbox One version using Xbox One assets and just ported it and scaled it up to 4K, and it makes the image look sharper, but obviously you're not going to get enhanced textures without extra work. So the second image of the ladybug, now that shows some of the work the developers can do to make the games look better. So the hairs on the legs were added geometry, which obviously requires more processing power. They added a metallic mesh over the shell to give it sort of a photorealism, and they added
Hmm.
extra detail on the eyes to make them look more 3D and more alive and vivid and stuff like that. And someone in the chat says the images look blurry, and that's because they're not 4K images. They are zoomed in because if we put 4K images on the website, that's going to cost us hundreds and hundreds of dollars of a bandwidth transfer, and second of all, because you can't see the 4K benefits without a 4K display. So the picture of the woman in 4K has been zoomed in twice and then cropped to 1080p, whereas the other pictures of the woman, the 1080p images, were just native 1080p. So even though the picture of the 4K woman, if you view it on your desktop on a big screen or on your TV, you're not going to see any difference on your phone. By the way, and I wrote this in the article. Anyone who viewed that article on their phone and said they couldn't see any difference, they're an idiot. Sorry, but if you view it on your desktop and slide it across, you can see that the image gets sharper, but the images are still zoomed in. The ladybug was zoomed in times 2, and the woman in 4K was zoomed in times 2. So, and this was supposed to be only for developers to see, but when I saw the images, I thought this is very compelling, and it shows you like how easy it is to get a performance boost in hours of development time. It said in the document, hours of development time, not days, not weeks, not months, hours of development time. So a game like The Witcher 3 could be ported to Scorpio and in hours get an instant 4K boost and would look great and stuff. Obviously, to get even more, they'd need to put work in to bring the 4K textures from PC. They'd have to bring those over, and that would take more work. But the whole point of the article is to show that how easily and quickly it is for developers to create value in mere hours on Scorpio. That's the whole point of those pictures.
So am I wrong in saying, because I looked at your article earlier today, and maybe it's my eyes or whatever, but I don't notice the difference between any of that stuff. And that's sort of the thing, like when I have with Digital Foundry, when they do these comparisons and they take a part of an image and they like super zoom in. They're like, well, you can see on the Xbox One version it's got 3 blades of grass, but on the PlayStation version it's got 10 blades of grass. And I'm just like, who notices that stuff? Like, honestly, I can never notice, and maybe that's why I've always said resolution doesn't particularly matter to me. I prefer frame rate because frame rate is game changing in my opinion. That is something I noticed. So when I was looking at those images, like I couldn't really tell the difference between the 4K version or the 1080p version or any of that stuff. And maybe I'm not alone. Am I not alone? Are people in chat saying the same too, or what?
I've heard plenty of comments like that, but what kind of screen were you viewing it on?
I mean, my monitor.
What?
I mean, it's not a 4K monitor.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I was viewing it on like my 16-inch, my 16-inch 1080p screen, and if look at the hair, man, when you slide over it, and the hair gains so much detail when it's in 4K, and in 1080p, it's just a pixelated mess. I don't know how anyone cannot see the difference there. And also in the background as well, like the background loses a lot of quality in 1080p because they make it lose perspective to save frame rate and power, but Scorpio wouldn't have to do that. So like the background's in higher quality as well on Scorpio with the same Xbox One tile. And also the slide, because this is from a PowerPoint presentation, the slide was also saying pay close attention to the smudges on her face. Like the texturing on her face gains a lot of resolution and sharpness when she's been ported to 4K. And it's 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 not supposed to be like when Microsoft show this at E3, and they are going to show it at E3, by the way. Um, I can confirm that they are going to dedicate a portion to E3 to show the differences between these games. They're not going to use something like this. I mean, the slide even said that the hair shaders were incomplete, and this was literally for developers to see the difference, and an artist would be able to see the technical value in these images more than people will. But the thing is, this is the real kicker. You see, my
Well,
editor's not a gamer, right? My editor is not a gamer. And when I showed him this article, he was like, "Oh my god, you can really tell the difference, right?" And it's his job to know whether something's crap or not. And he's not a gamer, so he has no investment in this console war, no investment in all this stuff, and he could tell the difference, you know. So that to me said that if he's an average person who doesn't care that much about resolution and frame rates and console wars and all that stuff, and he can see the difference, then Microsoft must be onto something. So, and he wasn't the only one. Like a bunch of non-gamers on the site were like, "Wow, you can really see the difference."
I guess I should say I did notice a difference with the Beetle, right? Like I could tell the difference
Yeah,
with the Beetle stuff, but still, the Beetle is like what zoomed in how many times?
two times.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I just don't notice that stuff when I'm playing, and
But that's the thing, though. Like, I remember when the Xbox One originally came out, right? And people were saying like, "Oh, the bump's not that big," blah blah blah. You know, and people were complaining that PlayStation 4, the difference between 360 and PlayStation 4 wasn't that big, because like, Grand Theft Auto 5 had just come out, which had like amazing graphics on 360 for the time, and the graphics on Xbox One and that, like with the exception of Rise, most games weren't anything to, you know, shout home about. But then go and play a 360 game now, and it's like, wow, 360 games really did suck on the eyes. So it's like, and even like with 4K, it's kind of like when I first got my 4K TV with HDR, I was like, man, HDR doesn't make any difference. But then when I went, after getting used to HDR and going back, it's like, wow, I really miss HDR, you know. So but you're right. This is more about giving artists the tools they need to realize their vision, you know. And if they want to make a photorealistic ladybird, then Scorpio is the place to do it at the end of the day.
Well,
But
doesn't this
I've
also
always,
go
sorry, go on.
to, like, if I can't see it, right, and I need the image blown up, like, I get things are going to look better and all that stuff, but like, isn't this go to the idea of how hard it's going to be for Microsoft to convey to regular consumers about why they need a Scorpio,
Well,
essentially?
yeah, I agree. I mean, when we talked about this, we talked about how difficult. I mean, this article is an example of how difficult it will be for Microsoft to sell the differences, because some people will just refuse to acknowledge there's a difference, like you, and
Look,
and
I just notice frame rate more. I like frame rate bothers me. I can tell the difference between 60 frames and 30 frames. And in most all games, I would prefer 60 frames locked. And if you can't give me 60 frames locked, then lock it at 30, because it gives me headaches sometimes, right? Like those are game-changing things. The frame rate
well,
is. The
that's the thing.
resolution is not so much. I mean, they're like Outlast 2 is not the best looking game, and neither is City Skylines, right? City Skylines is kind of,
Hey,
it's a
my
drab
city
looking.
looks amazing.
Right, but I mean, like, City Skylines isn't the game you necessarily play for resolution. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Outlast 2 does a lot with its lighting and its atmosphere. It's not one of those games where it's just like, oh, dude, it would totally be so much better in native 4K with 4K texture assets. I'm just kind of like, yeah, that might be something, you know, like for Call of Duty World War II or Red Dead Redemption 2, but a lot of games, I don't know if they necessarily would benefit from a huge jump in 4K textures and resolution.
Well, I agree, but this is the generation we live in. I've never cared about resolution. I didn't care about resolution when everyone was saying, "Oh, 720p box," I didn't care about resolution then. Scorpio's got 6 teraflops now. I don't care about resolution now, Give me good games at the end of the day. That's all I really care about, honestly. Am I happy that the ecosystem I'm invested in will have the best multiplats for quality? Yeah, I mean, am I happy that my 4K TV will get full native 4K games when I get a Scorpio? Yeah, I am. But at the end of the day, it's all about them games. City Skylines is, like you say, it's not the most photorealistic game out there. It's pretty cartoony, but it's amazing. It's the best game I've played this year, I think. And then you know you've got games like Rise, which look amazing,
Hmm.
but maybe weren't that amazing as a game because it'd been retrofitted from a Kinect
Well,
part.
That's the thing. Rise, a game that was 900p, is one of the best looking games on the console. That's what, like, look, and I think
Yeah,
someone in chat actually he said something about to me about how resolution should matter or something. Trying to find it. I don't know what Rand is smoking, but resolution makes a difference. Now, if we're talking
it
like,
does. It makes a
if we're
difference in, for example, this is where I find it makes the biggest difference in Battlefront. In Battlefront, which is 720p on Xbox One, you can't see people who are far away. They just look like pixelated squiggles because
wait,
the
say that again.
resolution's
Pixelated what?
squiggles.
What's a squiggle?
You're supposed to be the guy with the thesaurus,
I learned
Randall
something new today.
Randall
What's a squiggle?
thesaurus.
Is it like a
You've
little
never heard
squiggly
of a
line out in the distance?
you've never heard of a squiggle,
I
man.
don't think that must be like a British thing or something. A squiggle.
Man, people, yeah, Inferno 2 7 says they've heard of a squiggle, man.
I've never.
You
Hey, did you? By the way, did you use that word umbrage in your article after the podcast, like you said you were going to?
No, I didn't, and I've already forgotten what it means.
You
But I'm gonna use squiggle in my next article though. Randall
okay?
squiggle.
You Randall squiggle. See, some of these words I can't even say. See, there are people in here that don't know what it is either. I'm not alone. So
Well, okay, it looks like missing number from Pokemon, basically. A pixelated little bunch of dots that you can't discern. And it's like, is that a tree or is that a stormtrooper? So like, yeah, see the people are posting squiggles now. It just means like a little bendy line.
mm.
Yeah. Squiggle man.
All
So
right, a little squiggle. Okay, I get it. I can see like
yeah.
Inferno's using some little things like a little squiggle line. I get it. I get what you're saying now.
Yeah. So like if Battlefront goes up to 720p on, I mean, if it goes up to 1080 or 4K on Scorpio, Battlefront 2, then you'll be able to see snipers easier, because there won't be squiggles. They'll be, oh, that's a stormtrooper. And people abuse that in games like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, where they turn the resolution down so they can like see people hiding in the grass and stuff like that. So the resolution graphics do have an effect on gameplay, especially multiplayer games.
I'm not. I'm not saying they don't. It's just saying I don't necessarily think I noticed them. Like if I'm playing a game, I couldn't tell you what resolution it's running at. I couldn't tell you. I mean, like Star Wars Battlefront was a 720p game on the Xbox One. It still looked freaking fantastic. And Rise Son of Rome, a 900p game running on an Xbox One, is better looking than a lot of games that ran in 1080p. I
mm.
I just don't think like I think 4K is just a buzzword. It's the thing to be like that they're trying to push. Like, oh, wait till you see XYZ games in 4K, and okay, I
This
will
is the
admit,
thing, man. This
I,
is the thing. That's what people complain about so much to Microsoft is where's the parity? Why have we got games that are crappier on Xbox One? People
well,
complain so
because they built a
much.
crappier system than the PS4. Deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah, so are you suggesting that they build a crappier system on
No, 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 no,
purpose?
no, 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 no. I'm not. No, I understand. Like you build a better system, and the Scorpio is better than any other home console, and it's going to run games better. But like, I just don't think. To me, like I said, this is just my opinion. Just like last week when I said backwards compatibility is doesn't do anything for me, and it's a waste of time and resources. Just that's to me. Like I think I would rather see them focus more on frame rates than resolution. But that's just my opinion.
This is the other thing, In the documents I've got, and I'm still going through them. But it does seem to suggest that developers will be able to offer people options for how Scorpio's power is used. So, but it also says that we recommend you restrict frame rates in multiplayer games because if someone's playing a multiplayer game at 30 frames a second and you're playing at 60, it gives you an advantage. So
Hmm.
expect multiplayer games to just be 60 across the board. And I think 60 is the best to aim for, I think.
No, no, no.
Uh,
I totally expect the frame rates to be the same and all that stuff
but
in
but that's the thing.
multiplayer.
I don't care about frame rates. I think low like a 30, a solid 30 gives a game a cinematic feel. I like that
Cinematic
in
feel.
in Gears single player cinematic feel, and Quantum Break it gives it a cinematic feel, man, like film grain.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is the debate on what matters most to people. Some people will be like, I want the highest resolution that it can put out so it looks the best on my TV. And don't get me wrong, when I got an Xbox One S, I hooked it up to my 4K TV. Destiny sure looked pretty damn good, upscaled to 4K, and that's just upscaled. And now other games didn't. I didn't notice any differences. Like Rainbow Six Siege still looked the same. And from time to time, I will turn off the 4K option in my Xbox just to see the difference. And there is a noticeable difference between upscaled 4K and like 1080p image. Like there
See,
is.
now that's where I can't tell the difference.
See, I noticed it. Like I remember when I turned off HD 4K HDR on Ghost Recon, and it was like the game just looked way worse. Colors just like pop better and stuff. Like, because I just wanted to see, I was like, okay, because I was playing Ghost Recon in 4K and HDR, and I was like, okay, and then I turned it off, and it was like, oh, okay, now like you'll notice it like if you play a game for a while and then decide to turn it off,
Yeah, like
and then
I
you'll be like, oh
reviewed
shit.
yeah, like I reviewed Final Fantasy 15 in HDR, and I played most of the game in HDR. But then when I had to hook up my capture card to get screenshots and videos, my capture card can't handle HDR, so I had to turn it off. And it's like, wow, HDR really does improve
No,
the way
HDR is good. HDR is very, very good.
it's
Um,
bay. It's bay.
but why is there no HDR in Halo Wars 2, Jazz? What's up with that?
Uh, I don't know. Ask Creative Assembly.
I don't know. I just thought like Microsoft was kind of pushing HDR in their games, and it was kind of weird that Halo Wars 2 didn't have HDR in it.
Well, it's up to it's. I mean, they don't own Creative Assembly. Creative
No, you're
Assembly
right.
could have just
You're right.
turned around and said, "We can't deliver that right now." And don't forget that HDR is uses processing power. So maybe they just thought maybe we'll focus because Halo Wars 2 can get pretty laggy when there's loads of units on screen. You definitely notice drop frames. If you throw it
Hmm.
in HDR, you're going to get even more drop frames. So I think they probably made a judgment call there. But
Well, let's
yeah,
transition from the Scorpio stuff to the Call of Duty World War II stuff, which kind of blew up today.
yeah,
Um, what do
boots
you
on the ground,
did
baby.
you did you watch the trailer?
I haven't watched the trailer yet, actually. I've read the press release, but I haven't watched the trailer.
You
Um,
haven't watched the trailer.
nah, the thing is, I'm not interested in reveal trailers because they're designed to hype you up and stuff. I only care about gameplay footage. So I've seen the screenshots, I've read the press release. I'm gonna wait until they show the multiplayer at E3 before I actually get hyped for it. I'm still going to buy it day one, I think, because I've decided that I'm going to review it and cover it and stuff. But other than that, yeah, it looks like Activision have read the way the wind was blowing and decided to pull back from their sci-fi
Which is
bullshit.
a shame. Which is a shame because they finally got the sci-fi part right in Infinite Warfare. But um,
Is there any aliens in it?
no, but there is a zombie mode, so there will be Nazi zombies.
Mm.
Um, I think that's pretty much confirmed. It seems like they're from what I understand, there's going to be 48 player lobbies, no regenerative health. It's going to be like class based warfare, maybe like where you actually have to pick a medic, more like Battlefield One or the
Yeah,
Battlefield
the
series,
superior game.
which is an interesting change. Now I've seen
At least
people.
they're making changes, man. At least they're making changes. I mean, this is one of the things that made Call of Duty so boring over the years. It's just the same game with a new coat of paint, year in, year out, maybe with a few new kill streaks or perks or whatever. But the fact that they're switching to non-regenerative health and sort of going back to Call of Duty's roots and maybe looking at new mechanics like class-based stuff, it makes it sound like they're trying something new. And the thing is, Call of Duty comes out every year. They have no excuse to not try something new. You know, if they try something new and it doesn't work, who cares? It's still going to sell millions of copies, and then they've got next year to fix it. You know,
Well,
so
Bobby Kotick wants to make all the money, and he wants to make all the money right now. He did like you're right. They've been doing something new, but with the exosuits and the space based gameplay and all that stuff. But when your customers are basically telling you we don't want this, and the sales numbers for those games consistently drop, even though every year it's still the best selling game, your customers are basically telling you go. We want to go back to this era of boots on the ground multiplayer, and now we have World War II again. Um, and boots on the ground multiplayer, returning to the basic formula that made Call of Duty. Well, I'm not going to say made Call of Duty what it was, because what made Call of Duty what it was Modern Warfare. That made Call of Duty into a juggernaut. Like, even though Call of Duty 2 was a great game, Call of Duty didn't blow up
yeah,
until
it's
Call of
Modern
Duty
Warfare. Yeah.
4.
See,
So,
this is the weird thing. Like, I completely, I completely missed the Call of Duty train because I was knee deep in World of Warcraft at the time, and I picked up Call of Duty when World at War came out. So like my first experience with Call of Duty was World War Two, and I loved it. You know, I absolutely loved World at War. I loved putting the bouncing betties down and blowing people's legs off and sniping people's faces off with the big sniper rifles and stuff. And then I played Modern Warfare 2, and I really liked that. And Black Ops 1 was kind of like, yeah, this is okay. And then I just realized they were releasing the same game year in, year out, and I just stopped buying at that point.
well, I mean, I enjoy these games for the single player. I liken the Call of Duty games to a Michael Bay movie. You kind of just go in for the ride, you shut your brain off, and you can have a good time with the explosions and stuff. So, am I going to play this one when it comes out? Yeah, I most likely have. The only Call of Duty I've skipped recently is Black Ops 3, and I played all the other ones. And watching the trailer, I got a sense that this might be going more towards like a Band of Brothers kind of thing, where it's all about you and the squad and the stories that it's telling. So, I am interested in that aspect of it.
Mm.
But like, I don't. It's tough because I played all of those World War II games back when it was Medal of Honor and the early CODs. So it's hard for me to get excited. I know the people who are really into multiplayer are probably super pumped, but I've never been a Call of Duty multiplayer fan because I always thought Halo was a better multiplayer game. Come at me, bros.
See, I'm the opposite. Like, I never liked. Well, I used to like Halo multiplayer before. I loved Halo One's multiplayer, playing with friends, like in a split screen. But then when it went online and I got absolutely destroyed, I was like, oh, I'll go back to Unreal Tournament. And then because I just prefer the twitchy shooters. There's almost like a strategy with Halo that I just don't have the brain for. I mean, I really appreciate Halo's multiplayer. Like, I can see how good it is, but man, I just get ruined because I just don't think that way. I play really reckless. Like, I like run and gunning and stuff like that, and blasting people in the face, and them dying fast. You know, so I've
Hmm.
always preferred Call of Duty multiplayer, and I prefer like Battlefield multiplayer for that reason as well. You actually shoot someone and they die rather than they get deflected with a shield or whatever. Um,
So, I don't know if you saw, but Jason Schreier had an interesting tweet today.
I
Um,
didn't see because he's blocked me.
oh, he's blocked you. But one of the things with the trailer is it confirmed a November 3rd release date. And so Jason Schreier sent out a tweet saying, "Man, if you're a game looking to launch this holiday, against Destiny 2, Red Dead Redemption 2, Call of Duty, Star Wars Battlefront, and Assassin's Creed Empires. He basically said, "Good luck,"
He's
because
right.
those are five huge games. Like I know you may not like Assassin's Creed very much, but at one point Assassin's Creed was pretty damn popular and a pretty big game, and maybe it can be again in the future. But that's a lot of power. Destiny 2, I know, like I've talked a lot of shit
If I
about that,
was
but Destiny 2 is going to blow the hell up. It is going to sell tons, and people are going to get addicted to that game, like they were in the beginning of the
it's
first. Red,
it's a scary year, and there's still
mm-hmm.
games that haven't been announced yet.
Yeah,
Probably
yeah.
some big franchises too. But anything that's not one of these behemoth games is just going to get trampled in quarter four.
And that is why I made my video yesterday. Sea of Thieves should come out in 2018. It should totally avoid this year because I think if it's not coming out in August, then they should just look at next year, because even late August you have Shadow of War, which Microsoft is marketing for it, right? You have Agents of Mayhem, and
Agents
then
of Mayhem. I don't even know what that is.
it's the next game from the Saints Row people. It's not. It looks like Saints Row 5, but it's not Saints Row 5.
Never heard of it.
Never even heard. Where have you been living under? You're a video game journalist, and you've never heard of
Yeah, I've never heard of
Agents
it.
of Mayhem by Volition
No.
Studios.
No, I've never heard of it. I'll have to look into this. I don't know how I've not heard of it since it's supposed to be my job. I really am terrible at this job.
So you have those two games in August, at the end of August. We don't know really much about September brings. Maybe Forza Motorsport 7, maybe some other games. But then October, well, no, September obviously at the beginning has Destiny 2, and the rumor is at the end it has Red Dead Redemption 2. October is probably going to have Assassin's Creed at some point, and as well as many other games. And then November, you have first week in November, November 3rd, Call of Duty World War II, where Tim Dog was saying he predicts this game's going to put Call of Duty not necessarily back on the map because it's already back on the map. It's the biggest game, but like essentially to what it was before, right? It's gonna, yeah, and then 2 weeks after that, you have Star Wars Battlefront 2. So you have all these huge games where it's like, man, if you're thinking about like Sea of Thieves, new IP, like if you're not coming out before August, you should probably think about next year by now.
I definitely agree. I think Sea of Thieves. If they send out Sea of Thieves in quarter four, they're just gonna send it out to die, man. It'll be like Titanfall 2 and Dishonored 2, and and these games, Titanfall 2 and Dishonored 2, they're big brands that people know and recognize. No one in the wider sort of consumer space, people who don't watch podcasts or Twitter, or people who aren't involved in the gaming community but still buy games, they're not going to have heard of Sea of Thieves, man. And if they launch Sea of Thieves sandwiched by all these games, it's going to get absolute. It's going to sink. Like, to get it, sink. Like,
I saw what you did there, and I want it to be successful. I want all games to be successful. It pains me when I see a really great game like Titanfall 2.
I don't want
not meeting
Candy Crush
sales
to be
expectations.
successful.
What?
I don't want Candy Crush to be successful.
Okay, I'm saying I would prefer if every game was successful, so there'd be more devs out there making more games for me to play. When a game like Titanfall 2 does bad and it puts jeopardy on what Respawn can do as a developer going forward, that kind of sucks because Respawn has made great games and Titanfall 2 was a great game. It just whose bright idea was it to put it fucking after Battlefield 1 and right before Call of Duty? Like, who thought that was a good idea? And whoever thought that was a good idea should have been fired. They should have been fired.
EA smelled blood, didn't they? Because that Call of Duty YouTube trailer got hammered with dislikes, and they were like, "Yeah, we can launch Titanfall 2 and Battlefield both at the same time, and people will buy Titanfall 2 instead of Call of Duty." And some people did, but probably not as many as they expected. So I think that was a big mistake.
To be fair, if there's one game that might get delayed, it might be Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 very well could get delayed and release pretty much at the same time as most other
I don't think so. They've announced the launch window now. I don't think it's going to get delayed. I mean, the fact that they've been completely quiet about it for years, and then they announced a launch window, that's definitive. That says definitive to me They must be in a bug polishing phase right now, and it's like Fallout 4. They were definitive. They didn't say anything about Fallout 4 for years, and then they just dropped it and said, "Yeah, it's coming out then." I don't think Red Dead Redemption 2 will be delayed. I would be very, very
Well, we
surprised
know
if it
Destiny
is.
2 is not getting delayed. We know Red Dead's not getting delayed. You can rest assured Star Wars Battlefront 2 is not getting delayed, neither is Call of Duty.
Yeah,
And I mean, I guess uh, Assassin's Creed Empires could, although they missed last year, so I don't think that game's getting delayed. I think those are your five biggest games this holiday, and I don't. If I had to pick one,
and
like
State of
if
Decay 2. Yeah.
well, I don't know if that's holiday though, right? I mean, I think that's
Uh,
more early uh,
I think there's a chance,
fall.
they could just
Look,
announce State of
look,
Decay
if
as well.
Microsoft is like thinking, you know what, we're going to treat Scorpio as the launch of a system and launch State of Decay 2, Forza Motorsport 7, and Sea of Thieves and Crackdown 3 with the system, all four of those games they're going to fail.
Not Forza. Forza doesn't fail.
I'm just you can't do that in this day and age. Not like if it comes out at the end of October or November, and if you launch four games with that system, along with all the other AAA games, whether they're multiplats or whether they're Sony's games, because there's rumors about God of War and Gran Turismo, plus there's Nintendo games. I mean, how people could be killing each other in the streets to get a Switch so they can play Super Mario Odyssey. Like, if you're going
Oh
to launch
man.
those four games alongside all those other games, be prepared for having those four games undersell what you thought they would. I'm sorry, that's just the case. Like if you want to launch Crackdown 3 with the system, then that's cool because Crackdown thing I think can launch with the system. It's got brand recognition. It's kind of that game that does well now. Look at Ghost Recon. It's like a four-player co-op game where you just kind of fuck around with your friends and have a good time. And that's
Yeah,
kind of what Crackdown is. So I think that'll be fine.
I think Crackdown can get away with that because I don't think there's going to be any games like Crackdown in that space. But Sea of Thieves is kind of like Crackdown in the sense that it's four friends fucking around in a sandbox. So on that basis as well, Sea of Thieves is going to cannibalize Crackdown and vice versa if they release them in the same window. There is no good argument for Sea of Thieves to come out this year. There's no good argument.
No,
And you could say like give them an extra year development, make the game as good as it can possibly be because it's not going to miss its opportunity. There's no AAA pirate games going to come out between now and next year. Sea of Thieves has the open ocean
ooh, I like
of
what you did there.
I'm a writer, man. But Sea of Thieves has like an open playing field in pirate games. They have the they've got the audience, the pirate audience. Maybe they should delay it and release alongside the new Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
Well, that would. I
When's
think that
that
comes out.
coming out?
That comes out in May. That comes out literally a month from now.
There you go. There's your launch window, May
There's your launch
next year.
window. Well, because I had heard back in February that State of Decay was pretty much done. Like people at Redmond were playing near final builds,
Yeah, I think
and that
State
would
of Decay
actually.
is going to launch at E3. I think they're just going to say, and State of Decay is available now. I think that's what they're going to do.
I think State of Decay is gonna. Well, I think State. I would say early September, but Destiny 2's out mid-September, possibly end of September. If Red, I don't know. I kind of feel like if you're Microsoft or Sony, you might be want to like. I know the rumor is God of War is coming out in October, but like, is that really a good idea? Like, if you take Horizon Zero Dawn, sold extremely well, 2.7 million, great for new IP in 2 weeks, right? But
Yeah.
the argument exists like if they didn't delay that game, right? If they kept that game to release at the holidays, then it probably doesn't sell 2.7 million in 2 weeks, right?
Hell no.
And maybe it doesn't become this big new IP. So that's like the case study for giving the game a good release window. I say to Decay 2, maybe you're right. Maybe it does come out in June. When did the first one actually launched? A week after E3, if my memory serves.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I mean, there's precedent for it coming out in June. Maybe it would be a great July title. I mean, look at what
Yeah,
No Man's Sky
summertime,
did
man.
last year, right? No Man's Sky launched in August. It basically had the entire month to itself. Nothing had been out for a while, and people bought into the hype. And they also bought because when there's nothing out for a while, they're like, oh, well, I want something to play. I'll spend my money on it. But when you get to the end of the year, when there's tons of stuff to play, it's like I can't spend $60 on this new unproven
No.
game when I know that
Like
like
there was loads of games that I wanted to play last year that I didn't. I bought Watch Dogs 2, and I've never played it. And Dishonored 2, I bought Dishonored 2. I've never played it. It's just sitting there on my hard drive. Mafia 3, just didn't get time to play it. And what else? There was another one, and I ended up playing Astroneer instead for like
Astroneer. You were addicted to that game too.
I love Astroneer, man. It's such a nice game. I'm really looking forward to the future of that game. But yeah, it's just like, man, I just couldn't get invested in any of these games because Battlefield 1 just sort of dropped in there like a huge explosion and just killed everything else for me. I couldn't enjoy any of the games. I was like playing Horde mode and Gears 4 and Battlefield 1. That's all I was playing until Astroneer came out in December. So yeah, Indigo, you're right. I should go play Dishonored 2. It's awful that I haven't played it.
Dishonored 2 is absolutely fantastic. And you're right, Mafia 3 is a game I bought day one and I haven't played yet.
Yeah,
I haven't like I try to play every game that comes out. I really, really strive to, not only AAA games but indie games.
You're an achievement whore. That's why.
Yeah, I know I'm an achievement whore, but like I still like look and people have said to me is like, well, you're an achievement whore, and like, but I still value great games though. It doesn't matter if I'm playing them to get achievements. Like,
did you buy a Windows phone for the achievement?
I did have a Windows phone, yes, for an achievement. Look, you don't get to 1 million gamer score without doing something.
Without a Windows phone.
Like, yes, okay. For anybody listening out there in chat, I have played Hannah Montana for achievements. I have played My Horse and Me Too for achievements. I have played Barbie's Puppy Rescue Game for achievements. I have played Connect games where you had to dance to like kids like songs for achievements. God. Yes, I had to bribe people to play 2-player co-op with me in Connect games and have them look funny at me because I was trying to get achievements. Like nobody. No, I mean that's to be expected. And you talk to anybody who's got 1 million gamer score, they've done the same. That's just kind of the game. But at the end of the day, achievements don't matter to me when I'm talking about,
guys.
I don't know about that. I've been exposed. Hashtag exposed. But at the end of the day, achievements don't matter to me. Like, I don't factor in achievements at all when it comes to how good a game is. Like Outlast 2, gave it a 9.0 based on the merits of the game itself. It had nothing to do with any of the achievements. And I live for playing for great games. Like I'm super excited for the Little Nightmares, which comes out on Friday. Super excited.
I never in my life planned to be a writer. Never in my life. But it's just, I love games so much. It just ended up happening. I play games all day. I talk in my sleep about games. My girlfriend's recorded me in my sleep talking about Virtua Fighter in my sleep. The most random game ever that I haven't played for like 20 years. My girlfriend recorded me talking about it in my sleep. And, I live and breathe games. And there's too many of them now. There's too many good games. Someone needs to invent some kind of time compression device. Like Elon Musk needs to invent a time compression device so I can play all of these games. But it's kind of relevant that Cliff Blazinski, if I pronounce his name right, he said this week that AAA gaming is
virtually
unsustainable.
Yeah, I did a video about that. Yeah, it's interesting. Well, Cliffy's kind of been talking this talk for a while, ever since he left Epic, and it just so happens that his game he's kind of pushing is a AA game. He's right in a few regards, but I think he's wrong in the other. Like, the video game industry is healthy. We've seen like MPD. I don't know if you saw, but the MPD has to go back and change a bunch of their figures because they underestimated the digital stuff from 2010 to now. Because right now,
that's the thing about MPD. It's like they don't get the in-app purchases. It's like, yeah, people say Gears of War didn't hit its targets, but the thing is, it didn't. Okay, but the thing is, I know it's a viable business because it's got all those microtransactions in it, and there are people out there with more money than sense who will spend $100 in a go on microtransactions. Like, I've spent £70 on Overwatch loot crates in total over the last 6 months.
I have a friend who spent $5,000 on Neverwinter stuff.
Well, I've spent thousands of pounds on World of Warcraft Gold as well. I don't know.
Right. But I mean, the triple look, it is true. There are far less studios than there were last gen, and the chase of making AAA games, a lot of publishers had to close down. And every year, these games become more and more expensive to make. And every single year, they have to be supported by microtransactions or loot boxes. Games are insanely expensive to make, and they haven't raised the price of games. So I get where he's coming from about that. Where I get where he says, if you're not Sony or Activision or 2K, it's not really a viable business. Because if you look at it from Sony's perspective, they have a consoles to sell. So Horizon Zero Dawn serves dual purposes. Yes, to sell copies of the game itself, but it's also designed to sell the PlayStation console as well, right? And it's just kind of a bonus that it took off, and now they can kind of make a sequel out of it. Where Activision, they got so much money because it's Activision Blizzard that they can kind of just do the same thing over and over again. 2K is similar because they got their thing. It's interesting you didn't mention Microsoft, but then again, Microsoft has canceled a lot of games recently. So maybe the AAA game market doesn't fit well with Microsoft because they did cancel Scalebound, which is a AAA game. They did shut down Lionhead. But but his whole thing. Hold on, let me just finish. His whole thing about the solution was to go AA, because AA you could have limited marketing, you can go multiplayer only, and the thing is like that's interesting because like Rocket League is a huge success, Warframe's a huge success, right? But like he's trying to sell a AA first-person shooter that has limited budget and is multiplayer only. So I kind of feel like his presentation like served his own self-interest. You know what I mean? But I mean, he does bring up a good point. He basically said the AAA games industry is like the restaurant industry in America, where everything's basically the same, and it's just a retread of the same like 6 games every single year. I mean, he's not wrong in that sense. You know, I mean, most of the AAA games are very, very similar. I mean, how you have Uncharted, and look what Uncharted started, right? You have all these Uncharted clones, and even Tomb Raider kind of just became Uncharted to a certain degree. Look at Gears of War. Basically, every third-person cover shooter after Gears of War basically tried to be Gears of War. And any first-person shooter after Call of Duty tried to be Call of Duty, you know? But it's because most of the industry is risk-averse. They don't want to take risks. They just want to, they want to make sure they're going to get their money and stuff.
Risk is expensive, and it's like, it's interesting you say that people just make the same 5 or 6 games every year, because like, Hitman as a pure stealth puzzle game, basically, beloved fan following, but Square Enix obviously felt that it didn't fit into that 6 game archetype model, and they thought, instead of risk making a true stealth puzzle game, what we need to do is dial it back and go episodic, because that'll give us the cash flow to keep the game's development going without the risk, the upfront risk of the investment. So, and also because Square Enix sold Hitman episodically, they were able to sell the game at a premium, because buying the episodes separately costs more money than if you buy the season pass. So, and a bunch of people probably did that. So, so Square Enix were very clever there in making Hitman episodic, because it did actually turn out to be a very, very good model for that game. I don't know if people agree. I mean, did you play Hitman? What did you think?
I played the first episode of Hitman, but it's another one of those games that kind of got buried. Like, I actually own the entirety of Hitman, and I liked what I played. I just haven't been able to go back. Like, honestly, I would have preferred Hitman to release as one.
The backlog is real.
I wasn't. What? No, it is real. But look, I don't think Hitman bodes. I don't think it fits well, the episodic stuff. I really don't. I would preferred.
It was a success though for Square Enix.
I'm not saying it wasn't a success. I'm just saying I would have preferred the whole thing to be released as one.
But imagine if Hitman had, because I think Hitman was fully completed in January, if I remember right. Would Hitman have got buried in this past January? I don't know.
Probably.
So maybe going episodic kind of turns it into a AA in a way, because like those episodes, each episode by itself is a AA game, and then or maybe less. you pay like $10 or whatever, and you get like a couple of hours worth of experience. That's a double A or less. You know, that's an indie game. So they figured out a way of selling a triple A game at a premium. Um,
Right.
I don't know. But I wouldn't like all games to go like that. But maybe that is a way for games that are a bit risky to model themselves in a profitable way. I don't know. I don't know.
You don't know. You're
I
supposed to
don't
know.
know, man.
You're supposed to have the answers, man.
Yeah, but if I'd just be lying, you know, if I had the answers, because I'm not a game developer, I'm not a businessman, so I can only sort of call it as I see it, you know. And
Right. You know, we did get a question on Twitter that Bunyan Man wanted us to answer.
oh yeah,
He wants us to know if we can squish this into our topics, and his question was, does Xbox Scorpio need a surprise AAA game to launch day and date with it? Um, does it need one? I guess that depends on Microsoft's strategy and then what they're selling it at. Like, we don't know their pricing structure. I
yeah,
honestly feel like if they're going to price it at $399, then they might be going really aggressive with the system and trying to push a lot of volume. But they may as well. They might be sitting back at 500 and just trying to rake in the profits. Plus, Phil said they expect Xbox One S to be the big seller this holiday, probably because it's going to be $200.
yeah. Price
And
is
price
God,
is
you know.
king.
Price is king,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know if they do really need a AAA game to sell Scorpio because at least in the initial phase, it's going to be aimed towards the hardcore fans, like the PS4 Pro was. You know, the PS4 Pro marketing hasn't been very aggressive. The pricing hasn't been very aggressive, frankly, and the purchase argument hasn't been very aggressive either. But the thing is, there are people who will go out and buy one for Horizon Zero Dawn because they want to experience new exclusives in the best um, possible way, you know. And if you've got a 4K TV, then you want to get the most out of that investment. If you can afford a 4K TV, a decent one, at like $1,200, then buying a $400 console is probably not that big of a deal for you, you know.
Right.
So
I mean, okay, but let's take it to does it need a AAA game, a surprise? Because the question was surprise.
I don't think so because this isn't the console wars have shifted beyond units sold now. It's all about attach rates and return on investment per user, you know. So it's all about revenue per person. And if the person on the Xbox One S is spending as much money as the person on Xbox Scorpio, then Microsoft doesn't care, you know, because the ecosystem is the same for both. The Scorpio is just a 4K endpoint for the Xbox ecosystem now. It's for people who are invested in the Xbox One ecosystem who want to get more out of it. But Scorpio isn't a reboot of the brand. It's going to be called the Xbox One something. You know, it's not going to be called the Xbox Two. It's not going to be called the Xbox Next or something. It's going to be called the Xbox One something because it's all part of the same ecosystem now. So no, I don't think it needs a big AAA game to sell well. Because I don't think Microsoft really cares that much about. I mean, obviously they want it to sell well. Yeah, Mr. CRTS says it should be called the Xbox One Squiggle.
Squiggle.
I can get behind that, you know.
Yeah,
Xbox One Squiggle.
the thing is, I
Quite
don't think it
lengthy.
needs one either. We mentioned there's plenty of third-party multiplayer games this year, and so if it was a AAA surprise game from Microsoft,
It just get buried again.
it would be like I don't think so because this isn't like a start of a new gen. It is basically just another Xbox that just plays games at a better resolution. Now that doesn't mean Microsoft doesn't need exclusive games going into the future, which I think they do. I
They
think
need
20
exclusives more than ever now because if they want people to invest in their ecosystem, and this isn't just about Xbox anymore. It's about the survival of Windows as a platform. Because honestly, the Windows Store is pretty terrible. The best apps in the Windows Store are Xbox games right now. And I
What
know
was the thing you posted yesterday? How many reviews for Halo Wars Definitive Edition on?
Well, actually, the stats that I posted were wrong because the reviews
Oh,
are
fake news.
per region. So I
Oh,
said
okay.
that Steam has Steam has 750 reviews for Halo Wars Definitive Edition, whereas the Windows Store has less. Put it that way. There's like 150 on the US store, about 30 in the European store. You know, so people aren't people on people hate the Windows Store. You know,
Yes, they do.
it needs to be improved, and but this is all they need exclusives for the ecosystem, not to sell systems. Because honestly, one day all this is going to be cloud based. On people say no, this isn't going to happen, but it is going to happen. One day, games will be delivered via a Netflix-like service. You won't have a console. You will have Netflix, and you'll have a monitor. You'll have a holographic projector connected to a 5K, a 6G data stream from the atmosphere, and you won't have a console. You'll just have an ecosystem that you're invested in. So if Microsoft sees that as the future, that they call themselves a cloud and gaming company. That's what Microsoft call themselves internally now. And Microsoft need that ecosystem for the future, not for now, for the next 10 years, for the next 15 years, you know. So I do think now is crucial, you know. And that's why Sony jumped the gun a bit in investing in PlayStation now so early, but they've got the right idea because that's where all this tech is going. We got Netflix today, it'll be games tomorrow, you know, and eventually it'll be everything. You know, you'll have a brain implant and you'll just see games in your eyes.
Oh,
Okay,
I
maybe.
want to live
Maybe.
there. I want to live there. Don't
uh,
you?
yeah, kind of,
Live
kind of.
there. I figure we should also talk about the Forza Horizon 3 second DLC. Did
Oh
you see that
yeah,
stuff?
yeah, I did. Now
It looks
I'm not a yeah.
fantastic.
You see, I'm not a big Forza fan at all. I don't like I don't like racing games, man. I just don't like them. But the,
Jez,
the
breaking
Hot
my
Wheels
heart
thing,
here. Horizon, Forza Horizon 3 is like the greatest racing game ever
yeah,
made.
yeah, yeah. Let me finish. But the Hot Wheels thing looks really cool. Like I don't like
It
racing
does look
games
cool.
usually, but I like it. Just looks really awesome. Like, like they're really pushing Horizon as the fun Forza,
Hmm.
and whereas
And
Forza
like Forza
Motorsport,
Motorsport has the rigid and no fun here. Like
no
no,
fun.
like
Yeah, it's
like
pure
they did the Blizzard
racing.
Mountain expansion, right? Which was really cool. You know, you get to play in the snow, and it's like everybody's thinking like, ah, it's going to be the porch expansion like the last two games, and it's like, ah, we don't want that. But no, we got Hot Wheels cars and tracks all around the island that you can race on, and it's just like, whoa, I didn't even know I wanted that, but now that I see that, I do want it, and it looks
Yeah,
awesome.
it's smart. It is one of those things like you don't even know what you wanted. Yeah, and you know what it reminded me of, man? It reminded me of like those old crazy racing games like F-Zero and Wipeout, where the tracks have loops and
Hmm.
all these sorts of crazy stuff in them. I'd really like one of those kind of racing games. Like, did you ever play Roll Cage back in the day?
I don't think I played Roll Cage.
Roll Cage is amazing on the PlayStation 1, I think. But yeah, I like those kind of games with like crazy stuff in them. So like Hot Wheels called out to me. So it might be the first Forza I play. I haven't haven't played Forza ever, you know.
Yeah,
That's
I think it's
awesome.
really cool. I love Forza Horizon. I can't wait to go back and try out that Hot Wheels DLC. Hopefully, it's really cool. But if you guys got any questions, put them up in chat. We'll try to answer them.
Yeah,
I got a question for you, Jazzy. I got a
this is the
question for
question
you.
segment now. Okay, go on. Hit me.
Um, do you think Call of Duty World War II will run better on Xbox and run at native 4K 60 frames per second?
I will personally guarantee that Call of Duty will run at 4K 60 on Xbox Scorpio because
Ooh.
I've got those documents that suggest that, and I leaked that. Call of Duty, it just says Call of Duty 7 2017 4K. Now I hope the documents were in the proper context. But the thing is that that leak came from the same place as my Eurogamer leaks, so I am confident to say that it's accurate. The context might be wrong, maybe, so I'm like 95% that it's right that COD will be 4K 60 on Scorpio. I'm pretty confident about
I
that.
wonder if it'll run at ultra settings because I had that conversation with Maka. I'm like, listen, all Call of Duty games run at 60 frames. Some dips here and there, but they all run at 60. You know, there's your article said that Call of Duty 2017 was going to run at true 4K.
Yeah,
They're not going to skimp on the frame rate because frame rate's king, especially
yeah.
for Call of Duty. Does that mean they're going to be able to run Call of Duty World War II at 4K 60?
Well, the
And I
thing
asked him
is,
if they ran that at ultra settings. I asked Maka if he'd be impressed because Maka's usually not impressed by other things, and he said he would be extremely impressed if it ran at
Call
that
of
stuff.
Duty doesn't have ultra settings. Let's be honest right now. Call of Duty is not a photorealistic game. It also has this. It always has this cartoony sort of veneer. Even on PC, you can have the most beastly PC. Call of Duty looks like garbage next to Battlefield. That's a
Mm,
fact. And so yeah, ultra settings, quote unquote, for what counts as ultra settings on Call of Duty. But it's it's not going to be impressive. Give me Battlefield or Battlefront at 4K 60 on Ultra on Scorpio, then I'll be impressed.
oh, then he'll be impressed.
Call of Duty is just not. It's not the benchmark for graphics on PC.
Right. Rob,
But the games like sorry, Call of Duty is designed for volume, so they need it to run on as many systems as possible, which is why they don't push the
that is
graphics. And also, it's a really old engine. So
true. We got a question from Robert McLeod. Question is, how is exclusives possible for Xbox if Xbox games go to PC? I do not see it being possible. Um, okay, well, from my perspective, I don't play on PC, right? So it's either Xbox or PlayStation for me. So if a game's on PlayStation, it's PlayStation exclusive. And if the game's on Xbox, it's Xbox exclusive. I mean, I understand that if you want to, you can play the game on PC, but that has no bearing on me. I know there are PC gamers that are out there that are, will be like, well, I can play it on PC, so it's not exclusive. And it's like, look, I'm not going out there putting these games in list wars and being like, this is why Xbox is better than PlayStation because all this stuff. Like, I'm just saying, like, for me, it's Xbox or PlayStation. PC doesn't even enter into the equation. Nintendo doesn't enter into the equation. It's just those two. Like, those are the two systems. If I wasn't playing an Xbox right now, I'd be on PlayStation. And, um, there is the argument that does Microsoft devalue the Xbox by putting their exclusives on PC? There is that argument, and it's a fair argument to ask.
I think they devalue it by putting them on Steam, which is what they're doing to Halo Wars 2, because well, Halo Wars 2 is dead on Windows 10 store. You can't find a game. The matchmaking is dead. So the only way they can make that game live is to put it on Steam, and already it's started to develop a community already on Steam. That's a big problem because Microsoft are supposed to be trying to drive interest in the store for the future of Windows. They used to make money by selling new versions of Windows. There isn't going to be a new version of Windows. It's Windows 10, and Windows 10 is going to get updated in perpetuity. It's Windows as a service now, and it's monetized by the store. But the store just hasn't been improving at all. The apps still suck, and the game store is abysmal for gamers. It's terrible. You've got games like Gears of War sitting next to Candy Crush. It's awful. And they've done nothing to fix that, but they need to, because without the Windows Store, Windows 10 has no monetization model. Microsoft aren't Google. They don't sell ads. They need to sell software. They're a software company, and they need to do something about that. So, but from Microsoft's perspective their perspective is we're sitting on this game, Halo Wars now, which is a really good game, but no one's buying it because it's attached to the Windows 10 store. So what we can do is we can say, well, we've sold as much as we can on the Windows 10 store for now. Let's put it on Steam, get the money back from Steam, return our investment, and then reinvest that money in building it up some more, because that's what Xbox should be doing right now. It should be in this period of reinvesting their profits for the future, because they're not in a dominant position right now. They're in a healthy position, but they're not in a dominant position. They should want to be in a dominant position. And Windows market share is getting killed by Android. More and more people are using Android for their personal computing solution than Windows. And it feels like Microsoft don't care about that fact. And the only thing that's going to stop it is games. And
Hmm.
and that's a fact because games are the only section of the PC market that's remained resilient. While everyone like schools and offices switch to Chromebooks, design companies switch to MacBooks, and things have changed a little bit. Things have improved a bit, but it's not enough. And Microsoft really needs to nail the gaming ecosystem as it works between Xbox and Windows, because if they can get that right, it's gonna, it's gonna help Xbox and Microsoft win in the future, man. And so I do think it devalues in the long run. It devalues Xbox to put these games on Steam. I don't think it devalues Xbox to put it on the Windows 10 store, but I think at the moment they have no choice but to put them on Steam because the Windows 10 store is so bad. So
Oh,
until the Windows 10 store is fit for purpose, then I do think the best course of action is to put them on Steam. Because if I was a game developer right now and Microsoft came to me and said, "We want to make this a Windows 10 store exclusive game," I'd be like, "Oh, really?" Because real
really?
core, yeah, core gamers hate that thing, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. And I've actually got an article coming out this week about how bad it sucks.
Right.
So
Next
it's
stock,
a complicated topic.
1851 wants to know if we'll see the odds. What do they think the odds are of seeing a Fable reboot at E3?
Fable reboot. I don't
Yeah,
know, man. Like, who would even make that? The
that's the
only
thing.
person who can make Fable, the only team that I think could do Fable justice is Rare, and they're all hands on deck with Sea of
Ooh,
Thieves.
I like that.
So did that. All hands on deck, Sea of Thieves. So, I don't. Maybe they'll announce like the project. Maybe it's what they're going to follow up. See, Mr. CRTS said a good thing. Obsidian, man. If Obsidian made Fable, I'd be all over that. But then didn't Microsoft really piss off Obsidian recently by canceling a game?
Oh, Obsidian was working on an exclusive RPG for Microsoft for the launch of the Xbox One, and Microsoft canceled it,
Ugh.
and that's why Obsidian had to go the Kickstarter route. Was because of that, and almost destroyed the studio. So
Wow.
I seriously doubt they'd probably be interested in working with Xbox again in any capacity
But
for
then
any
again,
game.
that was before Phil, right?
That was before. I mean, this was under Magic. This was. I remember I heard about this game back in 2014 that it was canceled, and I was like, "Are you serious?" And basically, from what I understand, like the project manager at Xbox who was working on that game with Obsidian, he left Microsoft,
Ah,
and it basically left the game without a champion inside Microsoft.
okay.
Someone who could like be like, this is why this game's going to be awesome. This is why this game's going to be great. And the
Mm,
new person that was put in charge of the game didn't like the game. And then,
okay.
well, it was a hop, skip, and a jump to cancel the game after that. But yeah, um,
Hop,
I
skip,
think
and jump.
I did see a question in chat about should Xbox have more JRPGs. Short answer, yes. Long answer, yes. You want more games on your system.
Long answer, it's complicated.
Yeah, I mean, you
Um,
want more games on your system. You don't want less, and you don't want to give your competition default exclusives. So yes, there should be more JRPGs on the system. It sucks for people who like those type of games that there aren't any on there. And in Microsoft's case, it probably hurts them because those people are now buying PlayStations to
I'm
get
gonna
their
drop.
JRPG fix.
I'm gonna drop. Sorry to interrupt you, Rand, but I'm gonna drop a rumor in here right now.
Oh, we got a rumor. Okay.
I've heard that Microsoft will be attending the Tokyo Game Show this year.
Ooh. They
So
haven't attended the Tokyo Game Show in a long time.
yes, so it's not like if it's true, and I'm not saying it's 100% true, but it does seem that Microsoft will be. I've heard that Microsoft are attending both Gamescom and Tokyo Game Show this year. So no, take that with a huge pinch of salt because the information I've got comes without context. So it might not be a thing, which is why I haven't written it up, Just take it as a rumor for now. But if they are going to Tokyo Game Show, that will show that they have commitment to turning things around in Japan and courting, basically Japanese indie developers to bring some of their games, because there are some decent JRPG like indie sort of games on the console. Like, what's that one game called? I can't remember its name. I
No,
forget.
you're right. You're right.
But people, Persona 5 sold 1.5 million copies. You can't ignore that sort of game anymore.
No, and you can't have that game exclusive to your competition. You need those type of games to come on your system. But we're gonna leave you guys with that hot exclusive rumor from Jez. We're gonna end the show. We'll see you next week. But before we go,
sorry, go on.
Jez, I got the links to your Twitter, so people can follow you on Twitter, and you should, because Jez's life is Twitter. He loves Twitter so much, so follow him on Twitter. You got any other interesting?
I'm lonely. That's.
You're lonely. You got any interesting articles planned for the rest of the week?
Well, I've got an article whining about the Windows 10 store, so look out for that. That's about it, I think. And I'm actually ahead of schedule, and I've worked so hard this week that I think I might just have a break for the rest of the week.
Well, the reason we have to end the show is because I have class in literally half an hour. Otherwise, we would just go all night long, because me and Jez have had conversations that lasted for a long time.
Yeah, indeed.
But yeah,
maybe you should just quit
so check out
and become a professional podcaster instead.
We should. Yeah. So check out Jez's Twitter. Links in the description. Follow him there, because he posts a lot of funny stuff, a lot of interesting stuff. Check out Windows Central, is where Jez writes all of his articles, where you get the juicy scoops. Although he just dropped a juicy scoop earlier. I wonder how many people are actually going to...
A rumor.
And as for me, all my links and all that stuff is in the description of the video. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. I think we had like 250 people hang out with us at this afternoon. Is really cool. We're really excited you guys like the show. We weren't sure when we started it if people would care.
Yeah,
but people do, so we're going to keep on doing it. So thank you for the donation earlier. We did have Super Chat enabled, and if anybody wants to donate to help out the streaming channel. But thank you guys. We will see you next week for Xbox 2 number 7. Who knows what new information will be come out by this time next week. Jez might have more leaks. Who knows? And yeah. So thanks, guys, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Later.